Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales that we're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The night was supposed to be ours. For months, I had planned this evening, pouring every ounce of love and effort into making it unforgettable. The table was perfectly set, each dish carefully chosen because I knew exactly what she loved. The candles flickered softly, casting golden light across the room, their warm glow dancing against the walls like shadows of love that once burned so brightly. And yet, as I stood there, watching the clock tick away, I was alone. Emily had gone to the bathroom nearly 20 minutes ago. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe she just needed a moment. Maybe she was fixing her makeup, adjusting her dress, anything that would explain why she hadn't come back yet. But as the seconds stretched into minutes, and the minutes felt like hours, something inside me began to shift. A knot formed in my stomach. I swallowed hard, trying to push away the creeping sense of unease. "Emily," I called out, my voice breaking the fragile silence that had settled into the apartment like an uninvited guest. Nothing. A cold prickle ran down my spine. I walked toward the bathroom door, hesitating for a moment before gently knocking. "Babe, you okay in there?" No response. My fingers curled into a fist. My breathing shallowed. Something was wrong. And then, a vibration. My phone, sitting on the kitchen counter, buzzed against the hard surface. I turned sharply, my heart hammering as I rushed toward it, the screen lighting up with a name I hadn't expected. Dave, a longtime friend, a guy who had been by my side for years. I answered immediately. "Dave." His voice was strained. "Jim, listen, man, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but Emily's not coming back tonight." My world tilted. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. What the hell are you talking about?" My voice barely sounded like my own. Dave exhaled sharply. I could hear the hesitation in his breath, the weight of something he didn't want to say, but had to. "She's with Nate." The name slammed into me, like a sledgehammer to the chest. Nate Miller, the golden boy. The famous quarterback, the guy who could have any woman he wanted. And yet, he had chosen mine. I staggered back, gripping the edge of the counter as the words sank in. Dave continued, his voice low, almost apologetic. "I didn't want you to find out like this, Jim. But I saw her. With him. They left together. And man, I'm sorry, but it didn't look like she was planning on coming home." A slow, dull ringing started in my ears. A sickness roiled in my stomach, thick and burning, clawing its way up my throat. Emily, my wife. She had walked out on me for him, and she hadn't even bothered to tell me. I don't remember hanging up. I don't remember how long I stood there, staring at the phone, my fingers shaking so badly, almost dropped it. My mind raced, rewinding through every memory, every conversation, every moment over the past few months, searching for signs. Had she been distant? Had she been hiding something? Had I been so blind? The answer to all three was yes. There had been moments, little things, late nights at work, excuses that didn't add up. The way she would turn her phone just slightly away from me when she texted. The way she started dressing up more often, even when she swore she was just meeting friends. But I had ignored it, because I had trusted her. A bitter laugh escaped my throat, hollow and empty. I glanced around the apartment, the place we had built together, the place that now felt like a lie. The table was still set for two. The candles still flickered. The wine bottle still sat unopened. A twisted mockery of the life I thought I had. I clenched my jaw, my entire body shaking with fury. And then, something in me snapped. I grabbed my coat and stormed out the door. I didn't even know where I was going at first, but my body knew. And before I had even processed it, I found myself in front of the Avalon, an upscale bar Emily and I had visited only once before, on our anniversary last year. The same bar where Nate Miller was known to frequent. I stepped inside. The atmosphere was loud, filled with the scent of expensive whiskey, overpriced cologne, and the kind of reckless indulgence only the rich could afford. And then I saw her, Emily, sitting in a dimly lit booth. With him. Nate leaned close, whispering something in her ear, his hand resting on her thigh. She laughed, a laugh that was so familiar, and yet now sounded like a dagger to my chest. My breath hitched. Something inside me shattered. And as if she could feel my presence, Emily's gaze suddenly lifted, locking onto mine. Her smile vanished. For a split second, guilt flashed in her eyes. And then, she looked away. Like I was nothing. Like I was a ghost. Like the past 6 years of our marriage had meant absolutely nothing to her. My fists clenched so hard, my nails dug into my palms. My breath came in shaky, ragged gasps, my vision blurring with pure, undiluted rage. I should have walked away, but I didn't. I stepped forward, and in that moment, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was war. The moment my feet moved forward, I felt like I was operating outside of myself, like I was watching my own body from somewhere else. The air in the bar felt thick, suffocating, each heartbeat pounding in my ears. The glow of the neon lights painted streaks across Emily's face, illuminating the sheer disbelief in her eyes. And then, she looked away. Like I didn't matter. Like I didn't exist. Something inside me snapped. I reached their booth before I could think. Before logic, before reason, could stop me. "Nate," I said, my voice deathly calm, laced with a venom I didn't even know I had in me. Nate turned slowly, that arrogant smirk already pulling at the corner of his lips. He looked up at me like I was beneath him, like I was some insignificant obstacle in his world of fame and fortune. He didn't even flinch. "Hey, buddy," he drawled, leaning back, completely unfazed. "Didn't expect to see you here." The casualness in his voice made my skin crawl. Emily sat frozen. Her hands were clutched in her lap, her lips parted slightly, but she said nothing. Nothing. I had devoted years to this woman. And now, she sat next to another man while I stood there, burning alive in my own pain. "What the hell are you doing, Emily?" My voice was low, but filled with something dangerous. Emily finally moved. She swallowed hard, her fingers twitching against the fabric of her dress. "Jim, I was going to." "Going to what?" I cut her off. My chest felt too tight, my breath coming in jagged bursts. "Going to tell me that our marriage meant nothing? That you've been screwing him behind my back for how long, exactly?" Emily flinched at my words, but Nate laughed. Laughed. Like this was some kind of joke. "You're embarrassing yourself, man," Nate said smoothly, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Why don't you take a deep breath in?" I lunged. My fist collided with his jaw, so hard that the impact sent him sprawling back into the booth. The entire bar went silent. For a second, there was only the sound of Nate's chair scraping against the floor, the sharp inhale of people watching the scene unfold. Then Emily's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Jim, stop." She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin, but I yanked free. Nate groaned, his hand flying to his jaw, eyes blazing with fury. He pushed himself up, and for a moment, I thought he was going to swing back. But no, he just smirked. That cocky, infuriating smirk. "You've got a hell of a temper," he muttered, rubbing his jaw. "No wonder she left you." I saw red. I was going to break every single one of his perfect, white teeth. But before I could move, bouncers swarmed the area, shoving between us. "That's enough." One of them barked, gripping my arm with enough force to make my muscles strain. "You're done here." "Get him the hell out of here," Nate muttered, straightening his shirt. I didn't resist. I let them drag me out, because the fight wasn't happening here. No, this was just the beginning. As I was shoved out onto the street, the night air hitting me like a slap, I came to one undeniable realization. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. I was going to destroy them both. The cold wind sliced against my skin, but I barely felt it. I stood outside the bar, my hands shaking, not from the fight, but from everything that had been stolen from me. Emily, my wife. She had sat there, next to Nate, silent, unmoving. She hadn't fought for me, hadn't denied it, hadn't even acted like she regretted it. The realization ripped through me. How long had this been going on? How many nights had she left my bed to be with him? Had she laughed at me behind my back? Had she whispered his name while I was in the next room, clueless and trusting? I sucked in a sharp breath. My mind screamed at me to go back in there, to drag her out, to make her answer for what she had done. But that wasn't enough. Not anymore. I wanted her to feel the way I felt. I wanted to watch her lose everything. I wanted to bury them both. And I would. Emily came home the next morning. She walked in like a ghost, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed, as if she had been the one who had been wronged. I sat on the couch, waiting. She stopped in the doorway, staring at me for a long, heavy moment before whispering my name. I didn't respond. She hesitated. Then, finally she spoke. Jim, I can explain. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to keep my expression blank. Oh, I said, voice flat. Go ahead, Emily. Explain. She bit her lip, shifted on her feet. She looked nervous, but not because she regretted it. No, because she had been caught. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. I didn't mean to hurt you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Didn't mean to hurt me? I echoed, my voice sharp. Tell me, Emily, at what point did you think screwing another man wouldn't hurt me? Was it the first time? The second? Or was it last night, when you let me sit at home like a fool, thinking we still had a marriage? She winced, but I didn't stop. I leaned forward, voice dropping to something low and lethal. How long? I demanded. Her lips parted, but she hesitated. Don't you dare lie to me again, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. She swallowed. For months, she whispered. 4 months. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. For months of deception. For months of her lying to my face. For months of waking up next to her, kissing her, telling her I loved her, while she was sneaking off to be with him. My hands curled into fists. Emily reached for me, desperation in her voice. Jim, I stood up sharply, stepping back before she could touch me. Her face crumpled. Please, she whispered. Please, I still love you. My laugh was cold, hollow dead. You don't love me, I said. You just don't want to lose the life you had with me. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I didn't care. Not anymore. She thought I was broken. She thought she had won. She had no idea what was coming. Because I wasn't just walking away from her. I was going to make sure she regretted this for the rest of her miserable life. Emily thought she could fix this. She thought she could bat her tear-filled eyes at me, whisper empty apologies, and somehow I'd break. I'd crumble. I'd say something stupid like, I forgive you, and we'd pretend none of this ever happened. She had no idea who I was now. I wasn't her devoted, trusting husband anymore. I was something else. Something cold. Something patient. Something vengeful. I let her cry. I let her stand there, pathetic, looking at me like I was supposed to feel bad for her. But I just stared, silent, unreadable. Jim, she whispered, voice shaking. Please don't shut me out like this. I tilted my head. My voice came out calm, almost thoughtful. Why not? She blinked, caught off guard. I took a step closer, my eyes locked onto hers. You shut me out first, I murmured. You shut me out when you let another man touch you. When you let him kiss you. When you snuck around, lying to my face, night after night. She flinched. Good. I kept going. You shut me out. I repeated, voice sharper now. And the worst part, you didn't even have the decency to tell me before I had to find out from someone else. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She reached for me again, but I stepped back, and the rejection hit her like a slap. I was going to tell you, she insisted. I laughed. Actually laughed. Really, I said, voice dripping with cold amusement. You were going to tell me? When, Emily? Before or after you let Nate take you home again? She bit her lip so hard I thought she might draw blood. You don't understand, she choked out. I leaned forward. Oh, I understand, I said, my voice low and lethal. I understand that you destroyed everything we built for a few nights of excitement. I understand that you wanted to feel alive, right? Her breath hitched. She knew. She knew I saw the message. I smiled. A cruel, hollow smile. Well, Emily, I murmured, stepping around her toward the door. I think it's time you learned what it feels like to be buried. Her brows furrowed. What? I turned, letting my gaze sweep over her disheveled hair, her tear-streaked face, the pathetic way she stood there like she still had a chance. You'll see, I said simply. Then, I walked out the door, and my revenge began. The next morning, I called Dave. Man, he sighed the moment he picked up. I was hoping you'd call. I need information, I said, skipping the pleasantries. Dave was silent for a second. On Nate. Yes. I heard the shift in his voice, a smirk creeping in. I had a feeling you'd say that. Dave was well connected. He knew people, the right people, and I knew that if Nate had skeletons in his closet, Dave would find them. How bad do you want it? He asked. I let out a slow breath, my hands tightening into fists. I wanted to destroy him. It took less than a week. A week of carefully orchestrating the perfect takedown. Because it turned out, Nate Miller wasn't as untouchable as he thought. First, I dug into his career. The media saw him as the golden boy, the star quarterback, the man who had everything. But behind closed doors, he was drowning. His gambling addiction, massive. His debts, bigger than anyone knew. And worst of all, he was about to throw a game for money. I smiled at the news. Because that was career-ending. But that was just the beginning. I needed Emily to crumble too. And I knew exactly how to do it. Emily still thought she had options. She thought she could cry her way out of this, convince me to forgive her, make excuses until I was too emotionally drained to fight back. I made sure she never saw it coming. Because while she was sobbing in our old apartment, still clinging to the idea that she might fix things, I was ripping apart her world. First, I took the house. Legally, it was in my name alone. Emily had insisted on it when we first got married, saying she trusted me completely with financial decisions. A mistake, because I sold it. She had nowhere to go. Second, I exposed her affair, not just to her family, but to her job. She worked as an event planner for a high-end firm, a job built entirely on reputation. I sent an email to every single one of her colleagues, included photos of her with Nate. The affair wasn't just a betrayal. It was a scandal. And in her industry, scandals ruin careers. She was fired within 48 hours. Her reputation, destroyed. Her home, gone. Her stability, shattered. Emily tried calling me, tried texting me, begging, pleading. I didn't respond. I wasn't done. I had one last move left to play. Nate had a big game coming up, one that the entire country was watching. The night before, I leaked everything. His gambling debts, his rigged games, his fake image. It spread like wildfire. By the time he showed up for the game, his sponsors had dropped him. By the time the first whistle blew, the team benched him. By the next morning, his contract was terminated. His career, over. And just like that, the man who thought he could steal my wife lost everything. 2 weeks later, Emily showed up at my new apartment. Tears in her eyes. She looked exhausted, hollow, destroyed. "Jim," she whispered. "I lost everything." I stared at her, silent. She stepped forward, her hands trembling. "Please, I made a mistake. I love you. I need you." I tilted my head, and then I did something she never expected. I smiled. "Emily," I murmured, voice mockingly soft. "You wanted to feel alive, right?" Her brows furrowed, confusion flickering across her face. I leaned closer. "Well," I whispered, "I hope you enjoy dying alone." Then, I shut the door in her face, and I never looked back. Emily stood frozen outside my apartment door. For the first time in months, she had no control, no way to manipulate the situation, no way to talk her way out of the consequences she had so willingly created. She thought she could still fix this. That was the most pathetic part. She thought if she cried enough, begged enough, I'd take her back, let her back into my life after she had ripped me apart and thrown me away like I was nothing. But I wasn't the same man anymore. I watched her crumble. I watched her come to the slow, horrifying realization that she was truly alone. Her lips parted. "Jim, please." I shook my head, my smile cruel and detached. "You don't exist to me anymore, Emily." Her breath hitched, and for a moment, she almost looked physically sick. She knew she had lost. I turned away and closed the door. And this time, she didn't knock. She didn't scream. She just stood there, shaking, her broken sobs the only sound in the empty hallway. I never opened the door again. Emily's downfall was only half of my plan. Nate, I wanted him to suffer in ways he never imagined possible. After the scandal exploded, after his contract was terminated, he thought he could recover. He thought he could fix his image, use his connections, maybe even get signed by a different team. He was wrong. I made sure of it. I sent every piece of dirt I had on him to the NFL, the media, and his former team. Drugs, gambling debts, infidelity. The world saw him for exactly who he was, a fraud. And then, the real bombshell dropped. A lawsuit. His former team sued him for breach of contract, hitting him with millions in penalties. Every single one of his endorsements, gone. His savings, drained by legal fees. His fame, destroyed overnight. And the best part, the gambling ring he was involved in, they wanted their money. And when he couldn't pay, they came for him. Weeks passed. Emily tried to contact me over and over again. She left voicemails, dozens of messages, each one more desperate than the last. But I never answered. I watched from a distance as she fell further and further. She had no job, no home, no one turned to. And Nate? He was officially blacklisted from the NFL. He went from being a multimillionaire to being completely bankrupt in under a month. And then, he vanished. Some say he fled the country. Others say the people he owed money to finally got to him. Either way, he was gone. And Emily? She was left behind. Alone. Broke. Ruined. One night, months later, I heard a knock at my door. I didn't have to look. I already knew who it was. But I opened it anyway. And there she was. Emily. Or at least, what was left of her. Her once perfect hair was a mess. Her eyes hollow. Her clothes worn and cheap looking. A far cry from the designer dresses she used to wear. "Jim," she whispered, voice weak. "I don't have anywhere else to go." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "I figure as much," I said coldly. She bit her lip, trembling. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I thought Nate loved me. I laughed. Actually laughed. Her eyes widened to the sound. "You thought he loved you?" I shook my head, smirking. "Emily, he didn't love you. You were just another woman in a long line of women he used. And you threw away everything for him." Her breath shuddered. "Please," she whispered. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I don't have anywhere else to turn." I stared at her for a long, long moment. Then I leaned in, and I whispered, "That's not my problem." Her eyes filled with tears. And then, I shut the door. Emily never showed up again. She disappeared, just like Nate. Some people said she moved to a different city, taking up some low-paying job, struggling to survive. Others said she never fully recovered from what happened. But me? I never cared enough to find out. Because for the first time in years, I was free. No more lies. No more betrayal. No more wasted love. I had rebuilt my life, my happiness, my future. Without her. Without the pain. And I never looked back. Looking back, I realized something. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reforges you. I wasn't the weak, naive husband anymore. I was stronger, smarter, ruthless when I needed to be. I had lost everything, and I had taken everything from the people who wronged me. I had won, but the real victory wasn't in revenge. It was in moving forward. Months passed, then years, and one day, on a quiet evening, I found myself in a new restaurant, sitting across from a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She wasn't Emily. She wasn't anything like her. And that was the best part. For the first time in forever, I felt alive again. But this time, not because of betrayal, not because of revenge, but because I had finally let go. There are moments in life that change you forever. Betrayal is one of them. But the difference between being broken and being reborn is simple. You either let the pain consume you, or you become stronger than it. I chose to be stronger. And that was the real revenge. Because in the end, Emily and Nate lost everything. And me? I won. I walked away. And I never looked back.